Hey everyone, welcome to yet another webinar. It's such a pleasure to have you over here. Welcome to Zaio. I'm Akhil Bodu, and I'm basically going to be running this webinar today. We have a lot of exciting things planned. We're going to go through what exactly to expect from the upcoming training program, the upcoming bootcamp, and also I'm super excited to do a small interview with one of the candidates that is already part of our training program, and yeah, like we also have a chat going on. So if you have any questions at any given point, let's use this as an opportunity to answer these questions and address these questions. All right. So first of all, guys, my name is Akhil Bodu. I'm COO at Zaio, and Zaio is essentially an online coding school where we're training the next generation of talent that is going to basically drive the future of African innovation, right? We're talking about people who are going to be able to thrive in this digital age, right? So one of the biggest things that we get asked a lot, is AI is coming about. Like, how exactly are we going to survive in this AI age? And I'm excited to basically also go through that and have a conversation with you guys um, about that, right? One of the things that you guys should know, right? If you're here, it's probably because either you're looking to explore tech, you're trying to see whether tech is a nice scene for you to get a new job opportunity, because we know how the tech scene is rapidly growing. Like at any given point in South Africa, there are 200,000 technical roles that are left unfilled, right? And the starting salaries for developers are incredible, so the opportunity is massive, right? And I think if you're here, I'm really excited to educate you on what are the different kinds of opportunities that can open up to you, and how does Zaio actually help in getting you there, right? So let us jump into what exactly our boot camps are about, because the way we're able to help solve this problem, of filling these unfilled roles. So there's two problems, right? On one side, there's a lot of tech opportunities, there's a lot of job opportunities, but they're not sufficient technical people to take up these job opportunities. Whereas on the other side, we have the youth, and in South Africa, we're struggling with 45% youth unemployment, which is a huge problem, right? So that is why we're filling this gap, where we're getting the youth to a point where they're able to take up these job opportunities. They're able to change their standards of living. Like the tech salaries that you earn are really good. We're talking about starting salary of 390,000 rands annually, right? Starting up to 7.2 million, right? And this is annually, right? So I think the salaries are really, really good, right? So on one hand, you're improving the standards of living, and on the other hand, we're helping companies innovate better. We're helping them access better talent so that they can fill those technical job opportunities, right, that they have open, right? And how we do this at Zaio is through our boot camps, right? And I'm really excited to walk you guys through what exactly is entailed in these boot camps. Maybe let's start off by going through some of the key learning outcomes that you're going to take away from our boot camps, right? So the trick, and like this, guys, we've been doing this for about 6 years now. We've worked with Mercedes-Benz, Logicalis, Naspers, and a lot of big companies, and we figured out the secret sauce, right? And it's all in the bootcamp, right? It's very much job readiness driven, right? From day one, when you start the bootcamp, you're not only training to learn how to code, but you're training to become somebody who's going to get a job in the future, right? And with that comes the hard skills and the soft skills, right? So some of the key learning outcomes that you're going to take away is obviously the hard skills. So when I say hard skills, I'm talking about actually knowing how to code, right? The programming fundamentals, developing a solid foundation in programming languages, algorithms, data structures, problem-solving techniques, and becoming really good at actually writing code, right? And one of the biggest things is real-world projects, right? The way we're able to get you to a point where you're really good at programming is by building real-world projects. This is our secret to making sure that the program is exciting for you, right? The first project you're going to build is actually the Tesla landing page. Then you're going to build a YouTube page. You're going to build Netflix. You're going to build YouTube. I already said YouTube, Airbnb, Amazon. So there's all these real world applications, which is going to help you gain hands-on experience in how do you actually build a project from start to finish, and what are the different complexities that you'll experience throughout that whole experience, right? And the way we're able to help you stay on track is actually through a special feature that we have in our program, which is centered around career support, right? Which I'll jump into a bit more detail shortly. But basically, throughout the entire program, you're going to have a way to interact with the Zaio team, where we're constantly going to keep you on track. Like if you're facing any problems, it creates a safe space for you to ask any questions, and help, and we can help you better, right? One of the biggest things is soft skills, right? So when I talk about soft skills, these are the elements which are very important, right? But are not necessarily taught. If you go to like uni or various institutions, this is something that's neglected, but it's game changing. For example, when I look for somebody that I want to work with, I need to know this person is a good communicator. The communication skills are good, right? Is this person actually a good team player? Can they work well with other people? Can they collaborate effectively, right? So these are the kind of soft skills that we also get you up to speed with, right? You should be comfortable actually interacting with other members. You should be a good communicator. And these are things that we will equip you with, right? So guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to drop it in the chat, right? We also have our incredible team of consultants that are in the chat that will be able to answer any questions that you might have over there. And of course, we're going to have a dedicated Q&A shortly, right? So yeah, these are the key outcomes that you're going to basically take away from this whole training, from this bootcamp, right? And remember, the end goal for us is to get you a job, right? We're not here to just like teach you what is needed for industry, but our end goal is to actually get you a job, right? And we have really good placement rates, and we're really excited to be running more and more programs and help more and more youth actually get absorbed into industry, right? So one of the biggest things that you should be made aware of is the career support aspect, right? So from the beginning, right, we're helping you create your resume, right? We're preparing you for interviews. We have job placement sessions. So every 2 weeks, we have something known as the industry readiness sessions, where not only do we gauge your soft skills, but we guide you on how can you become a thought leader, right? How can you become a better communicator, right? So these are things that we have also deeply thought about. There's a lot of psychological aspects that we've taken into account with this, and it's something that I think is very game changing for you. Like, it's also not, it's like, if you don't have any previous experience as well, it's extremely crucial to actually get comfortable with what's happening in industry, right? So yeah, I'm just going to pause for a second to see if there's any questions in the comments. So we have Tando, who's actually here. We have Abby, our consultants are over here to answer any potential questions that might be there, right? Yeah. So let us actually continue, right? I think one of the, maybe let me jump into what exactly are the things that get covered in the whole sprint, right? What exactly happens throughout this whole period? We're talking about 6 months, so the duration of the bootcamp is actually 6 months, right? There's an MICT CETA accreditation. We're talking about NQF level 5 accreditation. So from weeks 0 to 6, we're talking about the basics, HTML, CSS. So these are the basic programming languages that you're going to learn that will help you build, these are like the building blocks of the web, right? And in web development, you need to know how to do HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So some of the projects you'll build: the Tesla landing page, Netflix, YouTube, Twitter, the Google Keep application. So this is what's going to happen in the first 6 weeks, right? Then from weeks 7 to 12, this is where you're going to learn more of the front-end technology, right? Remember, it's full stack bootcamp. So the front-end technology is basically going to be React, React.js for front-end. There's going to be Redux. There's going to be routing, right? We're talking about API calls, so getting comfortable using APIs. There's going to be advanced React, context, hooks. So these are just basically the front-end technologies that are very crucial to building the look and feel of applications. Like, look how cool it is to use TikTok, right, or Instagram. And you'll become equipped with the skills to build such smooth applications, right? So the projects that you'll build over here is the Airbnb, Amazon, a tic-tac-toe game, which also has sound effects, so that's going to be really exciting. And the main outcome over here is with this skill itself, with front end. So at this stage, you will be able to access front end job opportunities, right? Where you can start building your front end experience skills, right? So from week 14 to 18, then we jump into backend technologies, where now you're going to learn Node.js, Express. You're going to learn how to do REST APIs, MongoDB, Postman, right? And you're basically going to be building some backend applications, right? So see, the main thing to take away from backend is that this is where you're actually storing data, you're fetching data, the meaningful data that you need in your application. How it's delivered to a user is actually happening through the backend, where a request is sent to the backend, and then we get the data from our database, and we send it to the front end. So you're going to learn the end-to-end skills, going from front end to backend, right? You're going to connect your backend third-party APIs. You're going to build your own REST APIs. So that's really, really exciting stuff, right? So from weeks 18 to 24 then, which is, I'd say, the final stretch of the program, this is where we're really going to push you into the zone of getting a job, right? So you're going to learn how to crack coding interviews, learning data structures and algorithms, Python and object-oriented programming. You're also going to learn some SQL, right? And then also you're going to do like a big capstone project. So from each bootcamp to bootcamp, this is a project that keeps changing. And there is an AI component to these projects as well. So in this digital age, you need to be comfortable using AI. So that is something that you'll be equipped with as well, right? And the main outcomes over here is that you're going to be able to crack these coding interviews. You're going to be able to use computer science algorithms, and you're going to be able to do problem solving using Python, right? So I think it's a really like jam-packed 6 months where you are literally going to see yourself transform, right? Going from someone who doesn't have much of experience with coding to actually being able to create real applications. So that journey itself is extremely exciting, and I'm super excited to interview Twenga, who's going to basically give us an idea of her experience, right? But yeah, that's essentially the curriculum. That's the structure, and I think there's we've gone through the key learning outcomes, and I think now we can jump into the interview, right, where I can actually interview Twenga, and we can actually have a conversation and see how things are going. So I know we were chatting earlier, but we got cut off. So please correct me. Am I pronouncing your name right?
It's really tricky. It's Wenga. So
Mwenga. Yeah, I got it.
Yes.
I got it. Yeah. So how are you doing today, Mwenga?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Asif? I mean,
Well,
Akil, sorry.
Don't worry, people mix up our names all the time. I don't know why, but yeah. So how's it going? Like how's things going right now? Where are you at? What you up to with the training? Yeah.
Okay, so I started the bootcamp in Jan. So now, like, we've completed everything, even the final capstone project. So we're just waiting for everything to get marked and for graduation. And obviously, while I'm waiting, I'm on the job hunt, I'm applying. And it's really cool because when I was putting together my CV, that's when I saw how much we had actually done. And it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It actually is a lot. It's like I didn't realize how much I could do until like I had to start looking for jobs and putting together my CV. And I was like, wow, HTML, wow, CSS, wow. And it was just adding. So that's where I'm at right now. And yeah, it's exciting.
Oh, congratulations. Like if you made it all the way until the end, it's a huge achievement. I think it's incredible what you've been able to accomplish. It's not easy, right? And I have some interesting questions for you just to like, get a sense, give people a real sense of what it's like to go through training. Because people have this notion of I'm going to learn how to code, it's just going to take 6 months and I'm going to get a job, but people don't know the intricacies and the difficulties. So I want it to be raw, I want it to be real. But I think before that, I want to get to know you a bit more, like get to know your your background, like how, how did you end up learning? How did you end up taking this course? Like, tell us a little bit about before you actually got into Zayo.
Okay, my story is a little dramatic. I actually went to Wits to study computer science, but I had to leave school because of mental health issues. So I had to take a break for a year, and I was a bit nervous to go back to school. And it's obviously a struggle because I had to leave in the middle. My academics weren't that great, and I felt very discouraged. And
Mm.
it was really difficult even when I was applying for schools. Like, I'm obviously a liability because my marks were so low in school. And then I've just stumbled upon Zaio on TikTok, and I was like, wow, this is kind of what I'm looking for. And then I applied. And while I was doing it, it was really like great because one, it's online. So even if like I'm still getting better with my mental health, so I still am allowed time to just gather myself and then I can do my schoolwork. It's not as much pressure as it is when you're at school live.
Mm.
And it's like a really big support system. Like when you're struggling, you don't have to wait until like your next class and you still have to walk to the lecture and you're nervous. You can just post a message on Discord and whoever answers you, and someone will definitely answer you. Like there's tutors, there's classmates, someone will definitely answer you. So I really appreciated that it wasn't as much pressure, and it really helped me gain my confidence back
Yeah.
because like I wasn't flying through the boot camp, but it was much easier to do with that support system, knowing that we're all in this together and your
Yeah.
classmate can help you, your tutor can help you, and you can take your time. Like there are due dates, but it's like you have 2 weeks to do this, so it's not as much pressure as in live in-person school. Yeah.
Yeah, I think firstly, like virtual handshake, like what is it, high five? Yeah, because I think like yeah, you're a fighter. Just listening to your journey, it took persistence, right? And I think that's something that we often tell our learners, right? Where it's like, there will be ups and downs, and like before coming into the program itself, like you went through a lot and you overcame that, and like life will keep throwing challenges at you, but you keep getting stronger, right? It's that point that you said where you feel a lot more confident about yourself now.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you got to keep carrying. You got to build that momentum. But there's always that one bug that gets you questioning your self-confidence, so you just got to
Yeah, and then you just post a message on Discord and someone will help you. That's always like you can go on Google and try and fix the bug, but
yeah.
at the end of the day, if you cannot fix it, someone will answer you on Discord.
Yeah, I think that Tswenga is basically it's talking about a particular point which I did not mention earlier, is our community, right? We actually have a very strong community. There's a special group that's created for each bootcamp. It's a closed group of learners, and I think it's a great way to also make friends. I think the previous interview I did, I think the one before that, was an interview where one of the guys from the training program became very close with this other member, right? And both of them wanted to like work on this startup idea, and it's very like exciting to see that kind of collaboration. So the
Yeah.
idea basically is that there's a Discord support system where, like, if you're ever experiencing any kind of difficulty that you haven't gotten help on Google or on ChatGPT, that's when, like, you can interact with other team members, but there's also dedicated tutors that can assist, right? So thank you so much for bringing that one up. I think it's crucial, right? Like in this day and age, yeah, you have AI, you can do a lot with AI, but we shouldn't lose that human touch. That human touch is still very important. And I'm glad that it helped you, and it's gotten you through
Yeah.
like some difficult bugs, right?
It's also so motivating when someone posts a question and you know the answer. So you're like, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, yeah. So maybe let me take you to the next question, which is, so do you remember the first application that you built?
Yes, it was the Tesla page.
Yeah.
It was really easy. I don't know.
Really? Yo, that's dope. Yeah, that's
It was
amazing.
really easy. I really enjoyed it. And when I was done, I was like, wow, I'm gonna nail this. Because once we get to the end is where we really get to the tricky stuff. Once we start JavaScript. So for me, HTML and CSS were a breeze.
Mm.
You have to learn. It's a lot to learn,
Yeah.
but it just is very easy to do. It's not that hard. And that's the front end. So you've ticked something off by that small section. So yeah, the
Yeah.
Tesla page was fun. Like it afterwards, I was like, wow, there's hope.
Yeah. Yeah, and okay, like I mean, this is it's a really great point you're mentioning, right? I mean, that's how we desired to create it, such that we don't want it to be intimidating. Like for a beginner, it can be so scary. It's like coding, you're writing all this code. You have like this dark screen Visual Studio Code, and you're writing code in this thing. It can be pretty scary, right? But I'm really
Yeah.
glad to hear from you that it was a breeze. Like you made it past that first project,
Yeah.
and how did it feel for you to actually build like your first like landing page?
It felt really great, honestly. I
Yeah.
was showing my family. No one really understood what was happening. No one really understood what was happening, but I was like, look, guys, like, when you go online and you go to webs, I did
Yeah.
that. So it felt really
Yeah.
good. And the lectures are code along, so you won't struggle. And if you get an error, your lecturer will probably get the same error. So you
Mm,
can see like how you build it as you go. Like it's a step by step. So that's why it felt easy, probably because we were doing it together. So as you're watching the video, you go on your laptop, type it
yeah.
in, and see the results as
Yeah.
the video is going on as well.
So
So
this is a
that's
very
why,
interesting point that you're bringing up right now, which is the interactive coding experience, right?
yeah,
So whenever somebody sells something, they sell all these flashy things. Like we have this interactive editor, we have this AI bot, but at
yeah,
Zaio we don't like to do that because we're very outcomes driven, right? But this is actually one of the really cool things on the platform where it's like it's a very interactive learning experience. So maybe I'll give an example, right? So let's say that you're building like a particular component on a landing page. Maybe you're building like the search bar, right? The instructor will basically create the search bar, right? And then maybe leave a part out, and then you'll be able to receive that code push from the instructor.
yeah,
So it feels like you're coding along with the instructor, and you
yeah,
can modify whatever the instructor has posted to you. You can do a challenge. You can maybe change the color. You can play around with it, and you'll be able to in real time see those changes. So it's a very interactive experience all from your computer. You don't have to like go to a different page. You don't have to open a different screen. It's all there, and it really helps with understanding concepts better. So it's a really exciting, it's a really cool feature. I coded this with Asif actually, who's our backend developer. So I'm really glad to see the usage is nice.
Yeah, it's
um,
also really great with the code pushes. Since the code
yeah,
shows up, it's also really great because sometimes when you're watching, you're like, and then they say that you write trying to think of an example, like justify content will give you space in between. So you're like, oh, I wonder what it would look like if it was flex end, and then you can
yeah,
type in flex end and see what it looks like, type in different things and see what it looks like. So whatever you're wondering, you can actually do it as you're watching the lecture as well. So I
yeah.
really like that.
That's actually one of the innate qualities of a successful developer, right? It's that curiosity aspect. It's like, hey, what if I do this? What if I like you're tinkering with things, right? You're just playing
Yeah,
around, and that's
yeah,
what we're trying to cultivate through that experience. Where it's like, if you're feeling curious about something, play around with it, make a mistake, right? Like, or try to see, like, like sometimes you just change a small thing and like the whole look and feel changes, and it's so
yeah,
scary. It's like Control Z.
yeah,
So it's like really it's a great way to actually feed your curiosity. Yeah, I think that's amazing. Do you recall, like, do you remember, or maybe tell me about a time where in the program where you experienced this bug, right? And this bug really got you, like, man, questioning your whole, like, why did I choose to do coding? Like, is this for me? There's always that one bug that puts you down this like, it really, like,
yeah.
questions your, it makes you
I
question
know
yourself. Yeah.
exactly what you're talking about. This always happens for me with projects, and then when it's like close to the due date and then that bug just comes, and it was working so well and it just comes out of nowhere and you're like, oh my gosh. So for me, I remember I had that, I think it was, I'm not sure which project it was. Oh, it was my Google Keep project.
Okay.
And I would just copy and paste the error and on Google, and then I'd see all of the different answers. And like sometimes you really do get an answer on Google because a lot of other developers will come across the same bugs. So you do get that answer. But when it got to a point where I'm like, even on Google, it's not helping. Again, I promise you, on Discord, you just go, you take a screenshot of the bug, you take a
Yeah.
screenshot of the code, and someone will answer you. So yeah, it's those two things. Google and Discord were my best friends whenever I would struggle with bugs. But it's
Yeah.
nice because the bootcamp is very lenient with time. So if you can see that your project is due and you're just facing this bug, if you've posted on Discord, you can easily speak to someone and you can just relax and wait until you get a response. So you don't have to stress out about it and be like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do this, because everyone comes across bugs. And even when you copy and paste it on Google, you will see how many different answers there are, because even established people will come across bugs. So yeah.
Yeah, it's normal. Like, every developer experiences bugs. It's part of the process of development. In fact, some would argue that you actually spend less time writing code and more time debugging,
That is true. That is so true. Because it'll go by so quickly, and that bug, you'll be stuck on it. I think there was a point where I was stuck on a bug for 3 days. Because I
Normal.
was just, and
Yeah.
sometimes I really tried to challenge myself. I'm like, let me try and fix it myself. So once I hit that 3 day mark, I was like, okay, fine. I have to post it on Discord. I have no choice now. There's nothing more I can do about it. But yeah, it's tough, but you can overcome it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the most exciting things about this whole experience, right, is actually building, like a full-fledged application. I'm not just talking about, like, obviously it's exciting to build a landing page. It's exciting to build a Google Keep app as well, because you're doing some kind of, like, it's very dynamic. Like, you add something changes on your screen. But I'm talking about something that you've built your own, like, database connection, you've built your own backend, you've built your own REST API, and then you've built your front end. So tell me about that project, maybe, and like what that full stack project was like. Maybe walk us through what is your final project.
Whoa. So the final project was the Airbnb clone. So we had to do Airbnb. You should be able to log in. It should be able to keep the user details. So you should be able to log in as a user, and you can log in to try and become a host. So you should be able to upload images. There's so many things to it. And then you had to link it to the back end of MongoDB. And for me, how I started, I thought it was gonna be so quick because of all the previous code along projects. And I really think CSS and HTML, I was like, oh, very easy. But it actually took so long. I think it took so long to just try and get it to be perfect and to try and change the color, to change. That's what took the most time, in my opinion, just designing the look and the pictures and all of that. Whereas the back end, I think, went by a little quicker. The back end isn't as much work, but I think the front end is definitely a lot of work, like the HTML, writing down the names, changing the color, adding cards. It's so cool when it's done and you can see it in your head. So as you're typing it, it really just feels cool, in my opinion. Like, you just feel like, wow, I'm doing this on my own. And you don't realize how much you've learned until you have to do a whole project from scratch. Because when I
Yeah.
was doing it, I was like, oh, it needs to look like this. Oh, I know how to do that. Easy.
Yeah.
HTML, link it to the CSS. So when I was doing it, it was like, oh wow, I've learned so much.
Yeah.
It was insane, but it does take a very long time. I don't want to lie. It
Yeah.
does take a long time. So you
But
do have
as you go through more and more projects, you'll see that the time actually reduces, right?
yeah.
So, like, you've built this full stack application. I'm sure you went through the most with it, but then now, like, on your own, when you build your next application, you'll see that, hey, you know what, it's not that bad. And then, like,
Yeah.
as you gain that experience, it'll really, like, boost a lot of your confidence, and it'll make you feel very confident about your abilities.
Yeah,
Uh,
and that's the one thing I really appreciated about Zaio, because we actually do a lot of projects. So
yeah.
you learn from each project. Like, you remember, oh, in this project I made this mistake. So I don't
Yeah.
have to make this mistake again. I know that this time I can do it this way instead of the other way. So that's what helped with that project as well. It's like, oh, it's so much quicker if I do it this way, because I remember last time it took me forever, and then I found a shortcut last minute. So the more projects that we did, the more tricks I was able to add into my books, just from learning about myself and how I work. So that was really cool as well.
No, that's amazing. No, I'm really proud of you, and like the kind of, like persistence you've shown, making it all the way until the end. It says a lot, right? One of the things that I can see in the chat over here is, where is the bootcamp happening? So the bootcamp is actually a virtual experience, right? But there's two live classes that happen for the first half of the program, and then after that it becomes one live class a week, right? So what do you think about this experience? Like, did you like that format where, like, you had that freedom for it to be virtual along with like some live classes?
Yeah, that freedom is honestly great. I think it worked very well for people who had jobs. There were
Mm,
a lot of people who had jobs, so they would go to the night classes instead of the morning classes. I could
mm,
go to a lot of classes, but I do have like random family commitments that come up from time to time. So it's also very helpful because the classes are recorded, so you can just go and watch the class on what is this? Google Classroom. Yeah.
mm,
So the online format for me was my favorite because my life is a bit up and down right now. So it's very helpful to just know that if you miss this, it's very easy to catch up because it's recorded. And if you haven't watched this lecture, it's always going to be on this Zaio platform. So you can watch it whenever you feel like it. Sometimes I'll tell myself that, oh, okay, I'm going to do this on Saturday. And you can literally do it on Saturday. You don't have to do it on Monday. And that's the best thing about the online format. It doesn't take away from the learning process because you are learning. There are challenges, there are multiple choice questions, and there are tutors. So we're still learning. It's just
yeah.
that you can learn at your own pace. And that's what I really appreciated about the bootcamp.
Yeah. No, I'm very happy to hear that. I think, every learner learns differently, and
Yeah.
we try our best to make sure we're able to accommodate them. So that's why in some cases we're a bit lenient with, like, deadlines, because we know, like, each individual has their own approach and own way of dealing with things. And also life happens,
Yeah.
some people are working full-time jobs, life happens in some aspects. I feel like you have to be a bit more understanding, um, but yeah, I think it's amazing to hear what your journey has been like. What would you say is one thing that you're proud of yourself, from this whole program, whole experience?
Wow, so many things. I think I'm proud of my persistence. Yeah, like, when I don't know, like I'm just proud that I kept going. I think there were times where I just felt so overwhelmed with life, but because like I could just go back and do my project. Every time I submitted a project, I was proud of myself. I don't want to lie. Every time I saw a project working and it was in my name, I was proud of myself. So I think there were just so many proud moments throughout the boot camp, and it was genuinely just knowing and understanding. I think that was also one of my proudest moments, the fact that I'm not just copying whatever the lecturer is doing on the screen, but I actually understand, like it makes sense to me. So yeah, my proudest moment is just making it through and actually knowing the work. Yeah.
Once again, high five. This is amazing. Like, it's really, like, this is why we do what we do, right? And basically, we want you to feel proud of yourself, and like this is an acknowledgement of your effort, and like it's your hard work, right? Like, we were only able to facilitate this for you, so you have to like give yourself a pat on the back. It's really I think it's a huge achievement. This is just the beginning, right? Like, now you're already in the process of job hunting, so I think it'll be very exciting to see where you end up. There are a few opportunities that are in the horizon as well, so I'm really excited to see how, like, that aspect of your career continues from here on. So it'll be very, very, like, I'm very excited to see how things go for you, right? But yeah, I think we can move on to the next segment now, right, where we can touch more on the FAQs, right? And we also have a small surprise for you guys, everyone who's here. But yeah, thank you so much, Mwenga. I think it's been a pleasure,
Uh,
and I'm really excited.
Akil, oh my word.
Oh, it's the same thing.
Thank you for having me. I
Yeah.
hope I motivated people because truly, I think the bootcamp has done a lot for me.
I think let me ask you one last question before you leave, right? If there's
Yeah.
anything that you would say to like somebody who's like on the fence, who's like, what, should I actually do this, or is this for me, or like, what advice would you give to this person?
I honestly would say just do it. Because of all of the things that I said, it's online. So if you feel like this isn't the right time, you can literally take your time to do it. And even if you feel like this, you're wondering if this is a skill that you might use, you know that you'll always have something in your back pocket. So even if you don't use it right now, you know that in future, if you ever don't have anything, you'll always have this in your back pocket. So I think just do it. It's not going to take too much time out of your day, and it's going to teach you a lifelong skill that I think
Mhm.
will last forever because we're moving into the technological age. So it's important to have some form of technical skill. And I think, yeah, I stand.
Do it. Just sign up. Just go
Do
for
it.
it.
It's not going to be as much of a challenge as you
Yeah.
think. I promise you that.
I think if you're in this chat and you're keen to start this journey of coding, just type a yes and drop it in the comment so that we can actually get a sense of who all are actually interested. Give us a yes, let us see, where people stand right now. But yeah, thank you so much, Mwenga. It's been such a pleasure. I
Thank
think we'll
you.
keep in touch, right? I'd love to see how things go with your career as well. So I'm really excited for you, and yeah, just reach out to me on Discord. Just hit me up, and then like I'm definitely keen to see how things go there. All
Okay,
right.
thank you so much, Akil.
All right. Cheers. Cheers. All right, sweet. So now I think this leaves us with the last segment, right, where we can actually jump into some Q&A. I can take some questions that some of you guys might actually have, right? And then I have a small surprise for you guys, and I can drop that surprise shortly, right? So basically, let us see what kind of questions that we have coming on right now. Guys, post whatever questions you have right now. I can see there's a question over here. How many hours of coding do you need to dedicate to coding every week? I'm a full-time employee and I'm interested in the coding bootcamp, right? um, so basically you need about 4 hours per day, right? And we've only catered this from Monday to Friday, right? So you need 3 to 4 hours each day to actually just sit down and like go through the material, practice, right? But the reason we have not counted the weekends is we know that a lot of you guys actually are doing other things, are already involved in other jobs, and you need that extra bit of time, right? So that's why we have not counted the weekends, right? During the weekends is when you can like allocate more time. Maybe if you miss like Thursday or Friday, maybe you can catch up on the weekends. You can allocate more time in the weekends, right? So each day we're talking about at least 4 hours, so 20 hours a week, right? And you can use the weekend to kind of catch up for this. And a lot of the times, this is just an average. Like learners, like each learner varies. Sometimes you might find a learner, like you might find yourself spending like 30, 40 hours, like double, right? And then sometimes you're actually much you're spending much less time, right? So yeah, I think it's I hope that answers the question, right? Hi, can I also apply at Zaio as a third year student doing software development, right? Absolutely. You're more than welcome to apply at Zaio, even in your third year. In fact, I recommend that you apply sooner rather than later. Okay. Um, I think third year is actually a very good time because by the time you're graduating, you are increasing your chances of getting a job, right? So by participating in a Zayo program, because we're very much driven by placements and like getting you into industry. Um, you will be in a position once you graduate to be able to get a job, right? Whenever things get very hectic with studies, it's similar to somebody who's doing a full-time job. So as long as you're catching up and you're able to allocate those 20 hours each week, you should be good. And I think for students, actually really good because you actually have a holiday period as well. So in that holiday period, I think that's when I was a student, I really took advantage of the holiday period. And during the holiday period is when I actually learned a lot. I became really good at coding during those particular times. So I highly recommend, even if you can start sooner than that, go for it. If you can start before even starting uni or before starting tertiary education, go for it. The sooner you start, the better. You increase your chances of being successful in industry. Let's see. There's a question for Oinga, so she's back here in the room, right? Have you managed to... Hello again. So have you managed to secure an interview now that you have completed the course?
So we are still getting all of our projects marked. So we haven't even had graduation. I haven't even received my certificate yet. So I believe that the interview will be given to me after graduation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll keep that update, but I will hold them to it.
Absolutely. We are already looking at quite a few. We've seen quite a few openings as well. So, like as soon as students are graduating, you will get pushed from.
But I can say during the program, they do also advertise for companies that are looking for people. So you can keep submitting your CV and what you've learned so far to those companies. So even as we're going through the program, there are companies who are looking for people, and the Zaio team will advertise that as well.
Awesome. Yeah. Next question. In terms of flexibility, how many hours are required each day, right? So I think, like I mentioned before, if you're able to allocate 3 to 4 hours each day from Monday to Friday, you should be good. Any time that you have in the weekend is bonus, right? You should take advantage of the weekend time to catch up and maybe do some extra prep, get ahead of what's going to come in the next week. So yeah, that's 3 to 4 hours each day is good. How much are the fees to the bootcamp? Absolutely. So the cost is 25,500 rands, right? There are 3 payment options. The first one is upfront, so you can pay upfront 25,500 rands. If you go for the installment plan, you can pay 13,000 rands in the first month, 13,000 rands in the second month. And then there's also the financing option where we're partnered with Manati. So you can start off by paying a very low amount per month, something in like, the hundreds of rands. You can start off with that per month, and you'll be able to cover the costs. But that is an agreement that's actually going to be done between you and Manati, right? But I think this has been one of the biggest ways to break barriers for people entering into coding. People are able to start off at paying very low amounts per month, 300 400 rands a month, and they're actually able to start off with this whole bootcamp, right? So I think financing really changed the game in terms of us accessing more individuals, right? So if you're interested, and you're keen to get started, like the barrier is very low, right? Your intent has to be strong. If you're really interested, there is a way you can succeed. Yeah. Next question. All right. You guys have a boot camp starting on the 1st of August, right? When is the other intake, right? So we haven't planned for the next intake yet. In case you're really keen to get started in this upcoming boot camp, we have a special form for you guys. So this is a special gift to all the people that are attending this live webinar right now. I'm going to share a link with you, right? Somebody from our team is going to drop it in the chat, and you'll be able to then populate your details on this link, right? So that you can get enrolled into this bootcamp, right? Guys, the bootcamp is starting on 1st of August, but then we do have a grace period of the first week, so that in case you're still interested in getting involved in this bootcamp, definitely go add your details there, right? Any other questions that you have, somebody from our team will prioritize reaching out to you tomorrow, right? So if your name is on this list, we have a bunch of requests that are already there for us. But since you're attending this webinar and this session, if we see your name, we'll prioritize you. We're going to start with the names in this list tomorrow. So definitely add your name there if you're keen to start on the next bootcamp. If you're keen to learn about the upcoming intakes and stuff, at least get started right now with the whole process of getting enrolled, and we can definitely have you start in this bootcamp itself, right? Try get started sooner rather than later, so that you're ready for industry sooner rather than later, because things are changing dramatically fast, and it's a great timing. The timing is really good right now to actually learn this skill and get into industry. So I highly recommend put your name in that form. So that is the priority link. I'm not sure if there's any other questions we can take. Okay, so the next question is, will the school organize the interview for the students that have good marks in the final? So it's not only about the final, right? It is like an accumulation of your results throughout the whole program. Whoever joins our bootcamp, it'll be our goal to get you that interview, right? So as long as you're hitting your milestones throughout the whole bootcamp, right? It's not only about the final, right? It's like every 2 weeks there's an industry readiness check-in, right? And basically, depending on how you perform, like the final result is not determined by just how you do in the final, but it's an accumulation of everything that you do throughout the whole program. All right. And yes, like if you perform well, your chances of getting the interview is obviously higher because you've consistently produced results throughout the program, not because you've done well in a final. It's a result of your success throughout the entire program. All right. So your chances will be a lot more higher if your results are better, because the results, this is not like varsity where it's like, yo, you get good marks, you have an A star, or like, you have first class. This is like, if you get good marks, it's a true reflection of your performance throughout the whole bootcamp, right? It's a combination of various factors, right? It's a combination of your assignments, it's a combination of your coding challenges, it's a combination of your score on projects, the final capstone project. There's also like some exams. So it's a culmination of many things that will help us determine that final grade in the first place. What happens if I need support? So there's two ways. The first way is AI support. So we actually have an AI tutor inbuilt in our coding environment, where when you're watching videos, you can immediately ask the AI tutor for any kind of support. The second thing is, if you're stuck with anything and you really want to get help from somebody, right, you can always post a message on the Discord channel. Discord is basically like our chat platform that we use. Like, it's an open platform. Anybody can create a community there. We use Discord to essentially manage communications with all of our learners. So if you ever have any question, you can post a question on the Discord chat, and somebody from the whole cohort will respond to it, or somebody from the Zaio team will respond to it. And we also have one-on-one tutor sessions that you can actually book, right? We have dedicated tutors to each bootcamp, and you can book their Calendly link to have a one-on-one session with the tutor, so that you can actually, sometimes you need to have that one-on-one support. And you also have access to one-on-one support. So there's multiple ways we're going about support in Zaio. Can you start the self-paced course at your own time, or do you have to wait for the next intake, same as bootcamp, right? So yes, you can start the self-paced course anytime. In fact, tonight you can just like log on Zaio and go create an account, and you can access self-paced as soon as you make a payment, right? So self-paced is accessible immediately. So definitely, if you're interested in like going for self-paced, that is something you can check out and get started with immediately, right? Alternatively, the difference between self-paced and bootcamp, basically, with bootcamp, it's a lot more hands-on. It's a closed period of 6 months, and that's it. Whereas with self-paced, it's you're responsible for your own learning. You get access to the material, but it's in your hands. Like you have to manage your timelines. You have to manage your daily tasks. Whereas in bootcamp, it's a lot more hands-on. Like bootcamp is what is a lot of students opt to go for bootcamp because it's a lot more hands-on. For students that feel like they can manage things themselves, they're very organized already, then they choose to go for self-paced. What's the interest rate on the Manati student loan? Could we get details on the loan? Definitely, Impo, I think you should add your name on that priority link, right? Because the Manati student loan is actually determined by your risk profile, right? Which is a process that is actually conducted by Manati, right? So definitely just add your name onto the priority link, right? So you can just put the priority link here. You just go to this priority link so that you can actually, so that we can actually see, so that we can actually reach out to you, and then we can guide you on what that financing process is like, and then you can immediately get your answers from Manati, and hopefully, like, you need to put through your financing application so that they can build your risk profile. Once they've built your risk profile, you'll know your interest rate, right? Okay, next question. Okay, so I can see a question over here. If we can bring it up on the screen. Once you complete the bootcamp, how long does it take to receive the certificate, right? So look, if for every course that you're doing on Zaio itself, your certificate is accessible from your dashboard, right? That is something that you have access to immediately, okay? But if you're referring to the MICT CETA NQF level 5 certification, right? For that, you're going to have to go through a separate process. It really depends on when you complete your final project, and then after that is when you're actually going to be given access to doing this, creating a portfolio of evidence. So it's a process that could take about 3 months, right? So that is something that will happen once you're done with the actual boot camp and the final capstone project. So how much is self-paced, right? Self-paced is basically going at 11,750, right? That's how much self-paced goes for. 11,750 rands. Definitely head over to the Zaio website to actually explore, self-paced, and see what that experience would be like. So sorry, I got disconnected at the point where you explained the difference between self-paced and bootcamp. Could you please just cover that again, please? Sure. So self-paced is basically, as the name suggests, it's something that you do at your own pace, right? So you can even sign up right now. You can go check it out. Self-paced will allow you to start learning immediately, but you are responsible for planning out what tasks you have to do each day. You're responsible for helping yourself when you get stuck, and it's designed more for individuals who are a lot more organized and are able to handle the pressure of learning how to code, right? Whereas bootcamp is a lot more hands-on, right? This is where we it's a lot more nurturing approach, right? From the get-go, we breeze you into the program. You have bi-weekly check-ins with the tutor. You have one-on-one support that's available. You have a closed Discord community of other members who are learning at the same pace as you. There's a lot more hands-on support, and there's live classes that happen as well. There's live classes that happen twice a week. And then the way we design these live classes, if there's a problem that students are stuck with, we can sometimes we use these live classes as a way to go through particular concepts again, right? So it's a lot more it's a lot more hands-on, right? The approach itself is a lot more hands-on. And I think the biggest thing is that because it's so hands-on, we're able to increase our placement rates at the end of the program, right? So that people who actually go through this program have a very high chance of getting a job, which is why we start referring them to interviews at the end of the program. So it becomes something that we're able to offer, where it's like once you reach a certain stage, right, you become eligible to go for these interviews. But to know more, definitely head out to www.zaio.io, right? And you'll be able to see a tab called Self-Paced versus Bootcamp. And that's going to cover this in a lot more detail visually as well. So definitely go check that out, right? In terms of flexibility, okay, so here's the priority link again. So guys, just for those who might have missed this, the priority link is basically a link dedicated to all of you amazing people who have attended this webinar. If you put down your name on this priority link, you'll be able to get priority in terms of consultants reaching out to you. So whoever's name is on this list, all of our consultants are going to prioritize reaching out to you tomorrow. So definitely for the August bootcamp, which is starting this week, right? So there is a grace period, so it's not too late. Definitely hop on. I think it's a great opportunity. Yeah, so the priority link, check it out so that we can reach out to you. Any questions you have, our consultants are going to reach out to you. Yeah, next question. I saw that there was a question. I might have missed it. I can see that names are coming on the form, so that's fantastic, guys. Please go ahead. You can put the names on the form, and we'll definitely reach out to you with any questions you have. We'll be able to guide you. Cool. So I think that brings us to the end of this. If there's no other questions, are there any other questions, or are we good? And that's a wrap, guys. I'm looking forward to seeing some of you join the boot camp. Ideally the one that's starting soon, right? The one in August. Definitely add your name onto the priority link. Maybe we can just show that, leave the priority link on over here so that you can actually see that one last time. Go to the priority link. Definitely check it out. We'll reach out to you. And thank you so much for being here today. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you guys in the next one.